Hey everybody, you may hear a saxophone in the background, by the way. There's some folks practicing music, so I apologize if it's distracting, but such is life here in the upper F wing. So today we're going to talk a little bit about absolute value equations, so let's get right to it. There's a few steps we need to remember. The first one is going to be to isolate the absolute value. Okay, that's the first thing we do. The second thing we do is going to be to split and rewrite it. And the last thing we do is solve each equation. Because you're going to have two equations. And you're going to end up with two answers, just so you know. So let's go for it. First thing we do is isolate the absolute value. So we're going to get rid of this negative 7 by adding 7 to both sides. That's going to give us the absolute value of 6 plus n is equal to 8. We then split this and rewrite it, 6 plus n is equal to 8. 6 plus n is equal to negative 8. And when you write it the second time, you change the sign of the number outside the absolute value. And now you just solve this like you would any one-step equation here. So subtract 6 from both sides. N will be equal to 2. Okay, here you're going to do the same thing. You're going to subtract 6 from both sides. And n will be equal to negative 14. Okay. All right, here we're going to divide both sides by 5 because we want to get the absolute value by itself. You can almost think of the absolute value as a variable. So a over 8 equals 1. Then split this and rewrite it. So a over 8 equals 1. A over 8 now equals negative 1. We're going to multiply both sides by 8 because we're using the inverse operation. A will equal positive 8. And over here we're doing the exact same step, multiplying by 8. A will equal negative 8. Okay. Here, we're going to isolate the absolute value by dividing both sides by 8. Okay. So we're going to have absolute value of x over 2 equals 36 over 8. 8 does not divide 36 evenly, which is fine. Leave it like that for now. And let's simplify that. So we're going to make that absolute value of x over 2, and they're both divisible by, what, 2? So we're going to 18 over, no, actually, we're both divisible by 4. Yeah, they're both divisible by 4. So that'll become, 9? And this becomes 2, so 9 over 2. So now we're going to split this and rewrite it. And we're going to get x over 2 equals 9 over 2, and x over 2 equals negative 9 over 2. You're going to multiply both sides by 2 because we're using the inverse operation, and you're going to get x equals 9. And here you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to get x equals negative 9. Okay? Okay, how about right here? We're going to add 6 to both sides. So we're going to have b over 6 is equal to 1. Going to split this and rewrite it. So b over 6 is equal to 1. B over 6 is equal to negative 1. Multiply both sides by 6. B is equal to 6. And b is equal to negative 6. Okay, here we're going to multiply by 7. 8p absolute value is equal to 7. And now we have to split this and rewrite it. So 8p is equal to 7, and 8p is equal to negative 7. We're going to get some fractions here, and that's quite all right. Divide by 8, and p is equal to 7 over 8. Man, I feel like I did that wrong. I don't know why, but I do. I think we're good. And we're going to divide this side by 8 as well. And p is equal to negative 7 over 8. Okay, let's try this one. We're going to subtract 6. So absolute value of n plus 2 is equal to 7. Split this and rewrite it. N plus 2 is equal to 7. N plus 2 is equal to negative 7. Subtract 2. N is equal to 5. N is equal to negative 9. here we're going to subtract. So now we have 2 steps. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump to it, but we have 2 steps outside the absolute value, which is fine. We're just going to take a little more time to get the absolute value by itself. You think of this as a constant, think of this as a coefficient, because in essence the absolute value is being treated as a variable here. We're trying to solve for this. So you could almost think of this as like negative 8x plus 7, right? You'd get rid of the constant first, then the coefficient. So we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. Negative 8 absolute value of negative v minus 5 equals negative 72. And then we're going to divide both sides by negative 8. Absolute value of negative v minus 5 equals 9. And now we're going to solve each one. So negative v minus 5 equals 9, and negative v minus 5 equals negative 9. All right, here we go. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. We're going to get rid of our constant first. We have negative v equals 14, and we divide both sides by negative 1 because negative 1 is our coefficient, and v will be equal to negative 14. Okay. Here we're going to add 5 to both sides. So negative v equals negative 4. We're going to divide both sides by negative 1, and v will be equal to 4. Okay. Here, same deal. We're going to get rid of the constant thing. I mean, it is, I guess it's not a constant, but I'm thinking of it as a constant. So, I mean, kind of is. We think of this as a variable. 5 times the absolute value of 10x plus 9. And then negative 40 minus 5 would be negative 45. Let's divide both sides by negative 5. And the absolute value of 10x plus 9 is going to be positive 9. So let's split this and rewrite it. We're going to have 10x. We might run out of room because I wrote kind of big here. 10x plus 9 is equal to 9. And 10x plus 9 is equal to negative 9. So subtract 9 from both sides. We have 10x equals 0. Divide both sides by 10. And x will be equal to 0. Okay, let's go over here. Subtract 9 from both sides. We're going to have 10x equals negative 18. Divide by 10. And x will be equal to negative 18 over 10. And divide those both by 2, and you're going to get x equals negative 9 over 5. Okay. All right. Let's do these last few here. So here we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So we have 2 absolute value of negative n minus 6 equals 16. Divide both sides by 2. And the absolute value of negative n minus 6 equals 8. So we have negative n minus 6 equals 8, and negative n minus 6 equals negative 8. Plus 6, negative n equals 14, and divide both sides by negative 1, n is equal to negative 14. So negative n is equal to negative 2, divide both sides by negative 1, n equals 2. So 7 absolute value of 6a plus 10 equals 56. And divide both sides by 7. Absolute value of 6a plus 10 equals 8. Six a plus 10 equals 8. 6a plus 10 equals negative 8. Subtract 10 from both sides. 6a equals negative 2. Divide both sides by 6. A equals negative 1/3. Subtract 10 from both sides. 6a equals negative 18. Divide both sides by 6. A equals negative 3. Okay. Sorry about that. Totally forgot to pause it while I got this thing ready here. So some weird dead space in the middle of the video. What can you do? It's been a long day, guys. It's been a long, long day. All right, so here we go. We're going to add 3 to both sides. And -3 absolute value of -2p minus 6. And -39 plus 3 is going to be -36. We're going to divide by -3. So the absolute value of -2p minus 6 equals 12. And now we're going to split this and rewrite it. So we're going to say -2p minus 6 equals 12. And -2p minus 6 equals -12. Okay? Let's get rid of our constant first, which is -6. We're going to add 6 to both sides. So we're going to have -2p equals 18. Now we divide by our coefficient, which is -2. So I ran out of room here. And p is going to be equal to -9. Okay. By the way, if at any point you can also go back and check this, make sure they work. And I'm off camera. Jeez. There we go. Okay. Let's add 6 to both sides. So -2p equals -6. Divide both sides by -2. And p will be equal to 3. Okay. Last one. Here we go. Let's subtract 4 from both sides. So absolute value of 3m plus 4 equals 22. We're going to split this and rewrite it. 3m, how did I do it? Oh, change the marker by accident, sorry. 3m plus 4 equals 22. 3m plus 4 equals -22. Okay. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. We're going to get 3m equals 18. We're now going to divide by coefficient, which is 3. Yep. And m is equal to 6. Okay, here we're probably going to get a fraction. Yeah, we are. It's okay. -22 minus 4 is going to be equal to -26. So 3m, we're going to divide by our coefficient, which is 3. And m will be equal to -26 over 3. And that's it. Okay, so these take a lot of steps. These take a lot of work. So take your time in doing this. Try to be as deliberate as possible. I apologize for taking so long. But like I said, these take a while to do properly. I went kind of quickly, actually. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.